See, the problem is I only have one light in this room, so it comes down. So one half of my face is shadow, the other half is not. So I have my iPhone up in the corner with a really thin piece of toilet paper over the flashlight to diffuse some of the light. Hey guys, it's me, Joey Couture. With me, I have none other than my good friend David Lawson. Go ahead and say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Alright. Now, David, I know what you do, but I think it's a lot more fun for you to tell the world what it is that you do for a living.
Okay, so in the very, very short version, I'm a game developer with a company you've never heard of. The longer version is that the company that I work for makes tools and delivers services to game development studios so that it makes it easier for them to do their job. So things like game automation, game testing frameworks, crash scene investigators, accounting tools, as well as PM tools, and just a variety of different things to help them get their job done.
So I know you're working with one company right now, but have you ever worked with any other companies that we might know of?
I've worked with both Microsoft and Disney.
Ooh, is there any fun stuff about working with those companies that you can tell us before we get started?
So both of them are completely and utterly different sorts of environments to work in. Microsoft, at least where I work, is somewhat like a graduate study program in that it's very hands-on. You get thrown at tasks that you've never worked before in your life, and it's sink or swim and pick it up and learn it. But on top of that, you're in an environment full of people who are just like you, smart, talented, and also being thrown at things that they've never seen before. So there's a lot of chatter going on in the hallways and in the break rooms over what you're doing right now and challenges you're facing, and often the person that you're talking to has the solution because they've seen this thing before. Disney's a lot more different. While I was there, I was on a project that was still hush-hush. It still hasn't been announced. So we didn't see anybody else in the company ever. We were locked up on our own floor.
Is there an estimation of when this hush-hush might be out?
It's already past the time that I thought it was going to be announced, so there's been some kind of rescheduling going on since I left the project.
Oh, gotcha.
So I do not know.
Now, is this stuff that appears on, say, like Xbox, or is it just PC, handheld devices? What kind of stuff do you mainly focus on?
So most of my work has been on Xbox projects. I can't name any projects that we're working for right now, but they're all going to be Xbox One, Xbox Live projects.
Gotcha.
So these are major AAA, big bang bang projects. In the past, though, I've worked on Forza 5 Motorsport for Xbox One, and 1 vs 100 for the Xbox 360.
First impression that, well, for me anyway, growing up before I researched and did what I was supposed to do, a lot of people's first impressions of a game developer is sitting in front of a computer, editing models, and then apparently people seem to think that, you know, you edit the model for a character or an object in a game and then you can just copy and paste it like you would text, like right onto a screen kind of a situation, and then you hit print and basically you have a video game. What are some of the most misconstrued first impressions that you ever hear when somebody finds out that you're a game developer?
Okay, so the first misimpression I normally hear is, "Oh, you spend all day playing video games." No. Actually, it's a very relatively small part of the project in which you're actually playing your game, because for the first part of it, it's not playable. It's not even runnable. you're just making all the little bits and pieces that are eventually going to go together to make a game. And modern AAA games and a lot of indie games anymore are very, very complex pieces of technology with a lot of moving parts. And there's a lot of work you have to do before it'll work at all. As for how often you see game developers doing what they always show in the media, which is tweaking a model or developing how it looks, that's like one job amongst dozens in a game development studio. So when you're seeing that, what you're seeing is the work of a 3D artist. And 3D artists make the objects, characters, and the terrain in the games that you're playing.
Right.
There's a lot more going on besides that. You have to be able to put that all together into a game that works, and there's a tremendous stack of logic that has to arrange where all the objects go, how they look on your screen while you're playing. Tons of testing. Towards the end of a project, you'll probably have more testers on your team than you have everyone else added up. So the earlier you catch an error, it's less expensive to fix. If the developer spots an error while they're still programming it, that's very, very inexpensive to fix. You just fix it right on the spot. If a tester spots it later, it goes back to that developer as a bug, well, it's a little bit more expensive, but still not bad. If a user spots it out in the wild, it's extremely expensive to fix that bug because people are losing game data, people are crashing their clients. Loss of data is, in essence, the big reason that you push out a hotfix. You never want your players to lose their state. And by state, I mean how are things in your game right now. So that's especially important in multiplayer games because everybody needs to have the same state while they're playing together. And if they don't, then their gameplay experience will diverge, and suddenly they'll find that they're not really playing as a group anymore. So that's immersion breaking, and it's really bad for game business.
You obviously had to go to college, I assume, yes, to become a game developer, right?
You know what? Not really.
In some sense of it, in some sense of the matter.
At this point, actually, I have more experience than I have education in the relevant skills. When I went to school, I was studying computer information systems and industrial technology, and after a stint in the Army to pay that off, I went to work in manufacturing because that's where my training was aiming me. But after the post 9/11 economy ate my job doing that, the state of Washington was kind enough to send me back to school, and I still didn't study anything that was really that relevant to what I'm doing now. I was working in computer networking, working in like network operation centers and doing server support and end user support. But while I was working on that, I basically did a 1-year shake and bake tech school in night classes. And by the time I finished that, I had an offer of a contract to go work on a project at Microsoft, and I never looked back. So the classroom is a great way to get the information into your head in the first place. And if you don't have experience, it is the easiest way to get your foot in the door. If you can come to a job interview with all the appropriate education to do the job that you're interviewing for, then you're more likely to pick it up than if you don't. But once you get a certain amount of experience, they kind of stop looking back in time at what you learned in school, and they look at what you've actually done in the workplace.
All right. So what I like to do is I like to have my guest, while they're here, I like to have them step outside of their mind and picture themselves visualizing you walking down the street. What would be the first impression of yourself, not knowing who you are or doing what you do today? What would be your first impression of yourself?
Oh, big boy, he need to go on diet.
Oh, man. You know what funny thing is? Same story for myself.
I'm not really certain what sort of first impression people get off of me. Sometimes I try to engineer that first impression. I recall leaning over the shoulder of someone who was being fangirled at a convention,
Mm-hmm.
and the walk light had changed, and they were too polite to go around with this person who was just gushing at them. And I simply leaned over and relied on my size and simply said, "The light has changed." And that sort of knocked them out of their loop, and the celebrity, who I am not going to name, just went ahead and crossed the street and said, got away.
Okay, so if you can't tell us the celebrity, can you at least tell us what convention it was?
Emerald City Comic Con.
I want to go to that one so bad. Alright, I'll spin the table around. My first impression of you, like if I didn't know who you were, I just happened to see you walking down the street, my first impression of you would be that you're probably some sort of professor, or you have some really special high-up desk management job in the sense of like, you know, like executive this or administrative this, whichever. Don't ask me how my brain operates. If you went in there, you'd get lost. I ain't got a map. Google Maps is not going to help you. Certainly Apple Maps ain't going to help you either, so I don't know what to tell you there. Alright, so before we go, is there any other kind of advice that you might want to give anybody who's looking into getting into the game developing industry, or just any good advice in general?
The biggest stumble I see of people who would like to get into the game development industry is that they focus on one thing that they want to do.
Right.
You're not going to be a rock star designer coming out of college. You're just not. It's not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, for everyone who has managed to pull it off because they had a brilliant idea that was very lucky because it was the right place, right time, had a good team, had money, because lots of great ideas fail, and so 99% of it is going to be luck. You need to look at a path to get to where you want to be. A lot of people who are lead designers, lead programmers, lead project managers, they started off in the trenches as testers or an admin or a web server administrator. There are as many jobs in a game development studio as there are out in any kind of project. Everybody needs admin. Everybody needs finance. Everybody needs somebody who fetches the donuts. So if you have the skills in a particular area and you don't have them in another one, if you're an educated and trained programmer, but when you go in an interview with somebody, you say, "I'll take anything. I'll fetch your donuts. I'll answer your, I'll fetch your donuts. I'll answer the phone." That's too desperate.
Yeah.
And they're not going to call you back. Bring them skills that they can use.
Alright, well, it's going to go ahead and conclude this video. I'm Joey Couture, and this has been David Lawson. Go ahead and say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.